Good morning to all. In the previous presentation, we have been discussed about the course Introduction of Biopharmaceutics and Pharmacokinetics, in which we have dealt about course outcome, unit-wise description, reference textbook, all this. And in today's presentation, we are going to discuss about Introduction to Biopharmaceutics and Absorption. So biopharmaceutics is the science that examines the interrelationship of the physicochemical properties of the drug, the dosage form, and the route of administration on the rate and extent of systemic drug absorption. So the physicochemical properties such as solubility, pKa, all has an important factors in drug absorption. Similarly, the dosage form, either it will be a solid or liquid dosage form, the absorption varies in it. And the route of administration such as oral compared to that of intravenous administration, there will be a huge variation in the bioavailability process. So in similar to this, we have some factors that influences the biopharmaceutics, mainly the stability. So stability of drug within the drug product may get deteriorated by any improper storage or improper processing during manufacturing or transportation or during consuming. So that will be affecting the stability of the formulation. So this also has an important factor role in the biopharmaceutical aspect. And similarly, the release of drug from the drug product. So release of drug from the drug product varies from dosage form to dosage form. So in case of suspension in liquid dosage form, it has a delayed release compared to the solution, and similarly in tablets compared to capsule in solid dosage form, it has a impact in the release. So that is another important factor that influences the biopharmaceutical parameters. And the next is about the rate of dissolution or release of drug at the absorption site. So rate of dissolution may vary due to some manufacturing variables or such as instrumental error or manual error or improper selection of any excipients. These may have an important role in rate of dissolution. Also, the release of drug at the absorption site may vary based upon the disease condition or else pH or food content or gastric residence time. These are the other factors which involve. So that also has to be taken under consideration as a biopharmaceutical factor. And the last is about the systemic absorption. So based upon the BCS classification, either type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, the permeation where it has a major role, it has a problem in systemic absorption. So a drug pKa as well as partition coefficient permeability has to taken under consideration during a biopharmaceutical consideration. In simple saying about the solubility or else permeability plays a major role in this. Well, so before going to biopharmaceutics in detail, some definitions are important. So let's discuss about the definition now. So absorption is defined as the process of movement of unchanged drug from the site of administration to the systemic circulation or to the site of measurement, that is plasma. So movement of drug from the stomach to the plasma is called as absorption. And distribution is a reversible transfer of a drug from one compartment to another compartment, that is between the blood and the extravascular tissues. Elimination is the major process for removal of a drug from the body and termination of its action. So it is defined as the irreversible loss of drug from the body. So continuation to the absorption and distribution, elimination plays a major role, and this elimination has two processes, that is biotransformation and excretion. So biotransformation is also called as metabolism of drug, and it is defined as the chemical conversion of one form to another form. So one form to another form is nothing but active to inactive or inactive to active. So that's what we discussed in the previous presentation. So in case of prodrug, it will be converting from inactive to active, and in case of normal drug, the drug will be undergoing metabolism in the liver, that it converts the active into a inactive metabolites. And in case of excretion, it's defined as the process whereby the drug or their metabolite are irreversibly transferred from internal to external environment. So here the main concept is about irreversible transfer. So one from the body it will get eliminated outside. So this is what about excretion. Let's move on to the next slide. So bioavailability is another important terminology which comes under this. So bioavailability is defined as the rate and extent of drug absorption that reaches the systemic circulation in unchanged form. So let us get a clear idea about this through a schematic diagram. So considering the oral route, if you are taking a tablet whose dose is around 100 mg, so we can take that 100 mg as a 100% of dose in a tablet of oral administration, so that we can able to know what is a bioavailable fraction easily. So in this condition, upon administration, the dose will be getting fractioned in it as the following definitions. So here, for an example, among the 100% of dose administered, 5% may get undissolved in stomach. So upon administration, the tablet reaches the stomach, it undergoes dissolution. During dissolution, some portion of the drug may not get converted into solution. It will be remaining as such in the form of powder. So that undissolved drug may be a percentage of 5. It's a hypothetical value. It's not an exact value for all the drug. And the next is about some percentage of drug may not get absorbed from the lumen. So it will be getting dissoluted and in the stomach, and it will be getting transported or distributed to the lumen or gut wall. But in the gut wall, the drug may not get transferred from the blood to the tissues. So some percentage, a hypothetical value of 10% here. The other major process which undergo is about the liver. So upon absorption from the stomach or intestine, the drug goes to the portal circulation to liver, and in this liver it may have a process of first pass metabolism that we call as a biotransformation, the major process. So before reaching the systemic circulation for cellular distribution, the drug undergo first pass effect. That may be a major percentage. So in this condition, 50% of drug may not reaches the tissue. So only the remaining 50% of drug which reaches the tissue, that we call it as a bioavailable fraction. So this is one parameter or one way of explaining about the bioavailability. Also the other interrelated parameter is about the rate and extent is about the solubility as well as the permeability. So based upon the drug solubility, the rate will be quicker, as well as based upon the efficiency of permeability, the rate and extent of the drug absorption will be quicker. So that is what about bioavailability. So in this, the unchanged form, so 100% of dose is taken, and in this 100%, 35% got metabolized, and 10 and 15% have not been reached the systemic circulation, the tissue. Only the 50% as such from the tablet what we taken has been reached the tissue. That we call it as a bioavailable fraction or bioavailability. Thank you. And move on to the next slide. So pharmacokinetic is defined as the kinetics of drug absorption, distribution, metabolism and excretion in simple as KADME and their relationship with the pharmacological, therapeutic or toxicological response in humans. There are two aspects related to the pharmacokinetic studies. One is theoretical aspect, which involves development of pharmacokinetic models to predict drug disposition after its administration. Some statistical methods are commonly applied to interpret the data and assess the various parameters such as Cmax, Tmax, AUC, all these parameters. And the another one is about experimental aspect, which involves development of biological sampling techniques, analytical methods for measurement of drugs and their metabolites concentration in the biological sample, and data collection and evaluation. So from either by urine data or by plasma data, we will be identifying this one, which is called as experimental aspect. Let's move on to the next slide. Clinical pharmacokinetic is defined as the application of pharmacokinetic principle in the safe and effective management of individual patient and achieving maximum utility. So this is what in patients, if you are doing the same pharmacokinetic parameters, it's called as a clinical pharmacokinetics. And population pharmacokinetics is defined as the study of pharmacokinetic differences of a drug in various population group. Either it may be a diseased population and a healthy volunteers, or it might be a response in a post-marketed surveillance. So these all comes under the population pharmacokinetics. And toxic kinetics is defined as the application of pharmacokinetic principle to the design, conduct and interpretation of drug safety evaluation studies. So this toxicokinetics is nowadays having a major role in pharmacovigilance, where they will be knowing about the drug safety and important work coming under this drug safety associate region. Let's move to the next slide. So about biopharmaceutics, in conventional aspect, they categorize the drug therapy as well as administration as a 4 criteria. The first is about a pharmaceutical factor. So designing a dosage form. So designing a dosage form, either a tablet or a liquid dosage form or a solid dosage form or a parenteral, whatever may be, it mainly concerns some important factors: selection of API, suitable API for the disease, selection of suitable excipients, converting it into a suitable dosage form, and choosing a right dose, fixing the right dosing interval. These all comes under the formulation aspect. And this is the first criteria which is conventionally understood in the case of biopharmaceutical aspect. And upon finally forming the dosage form, the dosage form will be administered to the patient through the respective routes. In case of oral, the dose will be administered, and upon administration it reaches the stomach, and from the stomach it undergoes disintegration, dissolution, and this dissoluted drug will be going for the process of the ADME. So this is the second understanding of it. The first is about pharmaceutical factor, second is about pharmacokinetic, the ADME process, what the body does to the drug or what the body responds to the drug. So upon dissolution, the soluble drug will be getting absorbed in the stomach, the insoluble drug will be moving to the intestine, and in the intestine through villi it will be getting absorbed and it goes to the portal circulation, and from the portal circulation after biotransformation it reaches the systemic circulation, and there it get distributed. So the process of absorption, distribution, metabolism takes place, that the body is which reacts to the drug. And upon distribution, the distribution varies based upon the size of the organ as well as the perfusion rate. There are some vital organs such as lungs, liver, kidney. These are high perfusion tissue as well as vital organs, and size of the organs will be bigger. So a large amount of drug will be getting circulated, large percentage of drug will be getting circulated to these components. Whereas low perfusion tissues, they will be receiving less percentage of drug. So some factors which involves in distribution that we'll be discussing in that topic, and followed by distribution, the drug will be getting eliminated. The metabolite, the waste product will be getting eliminated through the elimination of kidney. So this is what about pharmacokinetics is of. So pharmaceutical factor, the second is pharmacokinetic factor, and the third is about the pharmacodynamic. So what the drug does to the body. Upon taking the drug, what is the response we have got? So the desired or the pharmacological response, what the drug is doing to the body, is nothing but a pharmacodynamic aspect, the third one. And the last is about the therapeutic index. So it is not that always the drug will be possessing a positive response. There are some conditions it may also cause a toxic effect. So this toxic effect may be due to wrong dose or wrong medication or wrong route of administration. So these may leads to a problem in toxic effect. So that toxic effect is so identifying whether we get a desired therapeutic effect or toxic effect is the final aspect which comes under the biopharmaceutics consideration. Well, let's move on to the next slide. The role of biopharmaceutics in drug development. So this biopharmaceutics has a various roles in several sectors of drug development process. So right from the initial stage, once an API has been synthesized or it has been identified from any natural sources, so the lead molecule, the first prime criteria what we evaluate is about the solubility in case of pharmaceutical consideration. So this solubility is an correlation for identifying the right dosage form. So the solubility has also plays a major role in deciding which type of dosage form we have to prepare, whether it is a solid or liquid, or among solid, whether it's a tablet or it is a powders or it will be capsules. So which dosage form the drug is suitable of. So that is the first area where the biopharmaceutics plays a role. Along with that, selection of suitable excipient, converting the drug into a dosage form, and identifying the dose, exact dose. So what is the dose which we will be having a therapeutic efficacy, or what is the dose we can increase in order to get a better therapeutic effect in case of disease severities, or else what is the maximum level of dose that can be given beyond which it may possess a toxic effect. So identifying the exact dose range what can be given off, and similarly about the dosage regimen. So what is the time gap we have to give the administer the medication. So whether it is a 2 times a day or 3 times a day, all these factors we will be analyzing before converting it into a dosage form which is available in the market. So in the preclinical studies in vitro level, this biopharmaceutics has a various roles in all these areas what I discussed so far. And once it designed as a dosage form, we will be evaluating it for in vitro drug release and followed by in vivo drug release, then correlating this in vitro with in vivo IV, IVC, and later it will be undergoing phase 1 clinical studies and early clinical development and advanced clinical studies also will be using this. And finally, in today's regulatory consideration, this biopharmaceutics plays a major role in waiving the in vivo studies or clinical studies for a generic formulation ANDA. So that is a major role where this biopharmaceutics plays by the help of bioequivalence with the innovator and the generic molecule. Upon bioequivalence, we can launch the product in the market. So these are all the various roles of biopharmaceutics in drug development process. Well, let's move on to the next slide. Absorption. So far we have discussed about biopharmaceutics as an introduction, and in this we are going to discuss about absorption. So absorption, availability of drug in the systemic circulation. So this availability of drug in systemic circulation varies, or the rate and extent varies upon route of administration. In case of IV or ocular other than extravascular, mostly about intravenous administration, intramuscular administration, or else transdermal, ocular, nasal, sublingual, vaginal, buccal, or pulmonary. The drug will undergo quick absorption or quick circulation process, whereas the rate of absorption will be calculated only in the oral administration, because it takes some particular time to reach the systemic circulation. So that gap we will be identifying, that is what we calculate as a Ka. So kinetics of constant kinetic constant for a rate of absorption. And this in among the other route of administration, the rate of drug circulation will be getting varies according to the several factors responsible for the individual routes. So in case of transdermal, the drug should penetrate through the skin barriers, so that is one factor. Similarly, in case of other route of administration, every route has its own factor which affects or interprets the drug available to the systemic circulation, also to the tissues. So that is the another correlation topic that we'll be discussing in the upcoming slides or upcoming classes. So let's move on to the next slide. So plasma drug concentration profile. So plasma drug concentration versus time profile is most important in order to identify the drug travel within the body, the time duration. So by knowing this, we can able to fix the dosage regimen also. In this, we have to take time in x-axis and plasma drug concentration in y-axis. So there are several pharmacokinetic related as well as dosage related factors, and those are one by one. Let us discuss in this graph. The first is about minimum effective concentration and maximum safe concentration. So minimum effective concentration is nothing but the minimum concentration of the drug needed at the receptor site to produce the desired pharmacological effect. So to elucidate or to initiate a drug action, the drug should reach this minimum effective concentration level. And the next is about the maximum safe concentration, MSC. So beyond which it may cause some toxicity. So this is the maximum safe level. The drug can reach to that particular range. This is the maximum safe level. We call this gap between the minimum effective concentration and the maximum safe concentration as a therapeutic range or therapeutic index. So once if the drug crosses beyond the therapeutic index or above the maximum safe concentration, we call that as a toxic level. So any trace amount of concentration which goes beyond this level, it poses some toxic level to the body. So in case of overdose or in case of repeated administration or in case of overcoming the frequency, we may occur this type of toxical level. And the other parallel concept is about subtherapeutic level. So subtherapeutic level is nothing but when a dose is very low or when the concentration of drug is below the minimum effective concentration, the drug won't be available in the tissue. That's what the exact word is of. The level or concentration of drug which may not be occurring in this range. So that is what called as subtherapeutic level. So we can able to plot a graph, and the graph which represent a parabolic symptom in case of conventional dosage form. In this, the first parameter is about onset of action. So onset of action is nothing but the time required for a drug to reach the minimum effective concentration. So this particularly we call the onset time, and the graph get increasing in concentration as time goes. So that we call it as a absorption phase. The initial first half we call it as an absorption phase, and the second half we call it as a post absorption phase. So in the post absorption phase, you can able to find a declining of drug absorption, that is mainly due to the elimination initiation. So in this condition, the absorption as well as elimination will be simultaneously proceeding up. So what there will be a declining of line or curve in the post absorption phase. So continuous to the post absorption phase, we reach a stage called termination of action. So this is nothing but the concentration at which it loses its action within the body. So the final dose or concentration which reaches the minimum effective concentration, similar to opposite to the onset of action of time. This termination of action is nothing but where it get stops. And below this termination of action, we call it as a elimination phase. The complete elimination phase. Here the elimination will be predominant. There won't be any concentration of drug in the body. So upon maintaining the drug concentration in the blood, the second dose has to be match the position where the drug getting its action terminated. So the second dose has to be somewhat administered earlier, so that by we can maintain the drug concentration in the same range. The next parameter is about Cmax. So Cmax is nothing but the maximum drug concentration observed in the plasma at a particular time, which is related to the dose and rate constant for absorption and elimination. The next thing is about Tmax. So Tmax is nothing but the time at which drug concentration absorbed in the plasma at a maximum level, which is proportional to the rate of absorption. Next is about duration of action. So duration of action is nothing but difference between the onset and time of drug to decline between the minimum effective concentration and the onset of time. So that is what the difference between these both. So this is the actual duration of action of time. So initially, when you are taking the tablet, it takes some particular time to reach show some activity. So in case of IV, we may get a response immediately, whereas in tablet it takes some particular time. So that is what we call as the onset of time, and the difference between the onset of time and the termination of action is called as the duration of action. And the last is about the area under curve. So area under curve is nothing but the total amount of drug which get absorbed in the systemic circulation. So this is what we'll be getting from a plasma drug concentration time profile, the various parameters which you can able to get from this graph. Hope you got a clear idea about this graph. This is most important, and this graph, the pattern will be varying from dosage form to dosage form. In case of IV, it doesn't has this onset of action, the initial graph part. It directly starts from the higher concentration and it gets completely declining. Whereas in case of sustained release or control release, the graph will be somewhat extending for long duration of time in a plateau level within the therapeutic range. So like this, it get varies. That we will be discussing in the novel drug delivery system topics later. So let's move on to the next slide. So before discussing about the mechanism of absorption, we should know what is cell membrane, what is its structure and physiology. So you might be aware about it. Let's have a glance of this cell membrane, its structure and physiology. So in this cell membrane, we have a phospholipid bilayer. This phospholipid has a head portion which is made of phosphate and it is hydrophilic in nature, whereas the tail portion is hydrophobic. It is a fatty acid. We have two tail portion, one is saturated fatty acid, another is unsaturated fatty acid. These arrange in a bilayer format in a cellular membrane or cytoplasmic membrane. Let's move to the next slide. So the polar hydrophilic head as well as the polar non-polar hydrophobic tail, these act as a semi-permeable membrane where it permeate only few molecules which won't permeate all the molecules within it. So it prevents movement of drug or some polar molecules. It will be acting as a impermeable. So it acts as a semi-permeable. It won't allow all the molecules about this. So this lipid bilayer not only have this layer, it also have some proteins in it. So the proteins channels in the lipid bilayer is also present over. This will be responsible for transportation of drug and various other roles are there that we'll be discussing in the upcoming slides. So in case of permeability of polar molecules, so this phospholipid bilayer allows some small non-polar molecules also. So these non-polar molecules will be getting penetrated through this membrane or protein such as water, amino acids, glucose from outside cell to inside cell, and similarly salts and ammonia from inside cell to outside cell through a channel which is of passive transportation that we call it as a facilitated diffusion. So some polar molecules which will be moving through this facilitated diffusion from higher concentration to lower concentration as a process of energy lack without using any energy. Let's move on to the next slide. So this non-polar protein molecules anchoring, this is responsible for intracellular extracellular movement. Various functions of proteins. The protein has various roles as such. It acts as a transporter of a channel from moving one component from one area outside to inside or inside to outside. It acts as a channel. Also, these act as an enzyme activator in order to stimulate the cell to process some activity. It acts as a enzyme activity center also. And in case of some drug transportation, carrier mediated transport, The cell surface will be acting as a receptor. It will be binding at one side and it will be transporting the same component to the inside the cell by cellular surface receptor model, which we call it as a carrier mediated transportation. It also acts as a cell surface identity marker, where it identifies some antigens or any other components which is getting attaching to the cell plasma membrane. In some place it also acts as a cell adhesion, and it also possesses attachment to the cytoskeleton molecule in order to respond of movement of muscles. So this is all the various functions of proteins. Let's move on to the next slide. And in this peripheral protein, as we discussed, so this is what the peripheral protein which is present over, and the integral protein responsible for movement, and transmembrane protein acting as a channel or pump mechanism. And the next slide we can discuss about the other concepts. Carbohydrate is also another component which is present in the plasma membrane or phospholipid bilayer attached to it. It also responsible for cell recognition and organ tissue development, and basic rejection of foreign particles, foreign cells by immune system. And let's discuss about the complete structure of plasma membrane in the next slide. So here we call this as a fluid mosaic model because these phospholipid won't be fixed in a particular location. They will be getting swimming around, and constantly the phospholipid will be changing one another. So we call that as a phospholipid, this phospholipid layer as a fluid mosaic model. And the various components in a cellular membrane are here. This cellular membrane protects the cytoplasm. The yellow region is nothing but the cytoplasm or the inner cell region, and the blue region is called as extracellular fluid, and the green filaments are called as cytoskeleton filament of this cytoplasm, and the blue head as well as the black tail phospholipid bilayer, and the yellow part is nothing but the cholesterol, and these are the transmembrane proteins, and these are the peripheral proteins, and these are the glycoproteins which is present in the extracellular region, and these are the glycolipids and responsible for presentation. This cholesterol which is present in this phospholipid bilayer mainly responsible for rigidity. So it possesses the rigidity to the cellular membrane. Let's move on to the finally about the mechanism of absorption. The drug, upon administration, it undergoes various absorption process or transportation process, such as passive diffusion. In this passive diffusion, we will undergo pore transportation, facilitated diffusion, and another parameter such as active transport. In this active transport undergoes carrier mediated ionic diffusion, ion transportation, endocytosis. So the passive diffusion is nothing but climbing down the hill, or it requires no energy. So concentration gradient is a prime factor or prime principle in it. From the higher concentration it goes to the lower concentration. So that is what passive diffusion is. Whereas in active transport, energy will be utilized, ATP will be utilized, climbing up the hill concept. So drug moves from lower concentration to the higher concentration in case of active transportation. So in the next presentation we will be coming to know what are all the various types of transportation or mechanism of drug absorption involved, which drugs will be undergoing which route of transportation, and what are all the drugs which cannot get penetrate, what are all the factors which is involved in it, how does it get affects. These all will be discussing in the upcoming presentations. So time is a non-refundable. Use it with intention, a right intention, a positive intention. So this lockdown period, hope you are all safe in home, and being safe in home, you have enough time. Utilize this time in a right way. Invest the time for your bright future. So hope you understood the introduction topic of today's presentation. If you have any doubts, please feel free to clarify your doubts. Thank you all. Thank you all for your valuable time.